I'm gonna paint this 18cm Necromantic Dragon from Zombicide Green Hot in under 3 hours today.
Then the entirety of the cosmos is accessible to each and every individual's mind, connecting to the great mind, the great spirit.
And I've been looking for an opportunity to do this, and what better time to do this than during this lockdown. Okay, on top of this, today I will also be discussing part separation, even though the entire model is made of the same material, which is rotting flesh. So I'm going to do some part separation on this model by zoning in on different zones, such as the more sensitive areas like hands, elbows, knees, and color them slightly differently. And I'm also going to go through part separation in terms of color composition so that the entire miniature looks coherent rather than making it look disjointed. So if you're ready, let us begin. Right, welcome back to another speed paint. Today we'll be doing the Necromantic Dragon in 3 hours, and I'm gonna show you guys how to paint this beast of a miniature. Alright, so the first part, I'm just gonna speed it all the way through. I'm just gonna very quickly show you guys at a very fast pace of the base coating. So I'm gonna start off with a reddish brown base coat, gradually moving to a blue for the flesh. So this is made using raw umber, a bit of flesh, a bit of blue. And as for the wings, it's gonna be slightly different. It's gonna be a magenta base, so it's a magenta plus black plus raw umber. Okay, so that this will lend some degree of part separation between the wing flaps as well as the flesh. As for the bony parts, it will be done in a raw umber color, so that it's more warm and desaturated and lends to more part separation. For this miniature at this size, I'm going to talk about how to do part separation because the entire miniature is all made of flesh. How we're gonna make sure this miniature doesn't look like one chunk of color, because it's dead, it's gonna be a lot of sort of browns. So the strategy that I'm gonna employ on this miniature is that I'm gonna make sure that different anatomies of this dragon will be colored differently. So say for example, the more tender parts such as the hands, the feet, the knees, and the palms will be all done in a different red, although they're all flesh color, but they'll be slightly different. Okay, but at this stage we're going to use the same color so that we can tie in all the colors together. So at this stage I'm using a redder brown, so it's more of a red oxide plus black and raw umber. Okay, at this stage I'm not focused at all on the little details. As you can see, I'm really starting to do some part separation. I'm going to use a very extreme saturation for red all the way for certain areas, and I want you guys to pay particular attention on this part that I'm painting now. And this part that I'm painting, it might look a lot more red, but the thing is, trust me, for acrylics they dry darker and they dry less saturated. So when the other side dries, you can see that the effect, it will actually be the same color as the current left hand side. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I added in some Joe Sonia flesh color to the existing mix, and I'm creating the mid-tone for the flesh. So this is the main color that the flesh body is going to be. Okay, as you guys can see, it's more of like a desaturated red blue color thing, but the thing is, when it dries, it actually gives the illusion that I might have added a bit of blue in this, because it's a lot cooler relative to its surrounding. So you can pay particular attention to this, because colors are all relative, and because of their relative nature, you can actually make something appear more cool or more warm just by altering the colors around it rather than altering the color itself. Okay, this is one small trick that I learned from this speed painting process, because you don't want to be changing colors too often. Now I'm creating a more desaturated red color, the areas with more blood vessels such as the elbows, the knees, the sternum, the feet, and the hands. Basically all the joints. Okay. So this would allow the miniature to be broken up in different components. Why do I do this? Is because imagine if the entire miniature was done in the same flesh color, what you get just variations of shades and tones and highlights of the same color, and it's not going to be very readable. I want the viewer to immediately see and discern which parts are what, and immediately identify that this is an arm, this is hand, so that it allows instant understandability. Because as I always say, you want to treat the viewer like an outsider, and you want them to understand the universe without knowing without having intimate knowledge of the universe. Okay, so this is the Necromantic Dragon from Simon's Green Horde. It's just I've always been wanting to paint this miniature for a long time, but just never had the time. So because of this circuit breaker lockdown period, I actually am dedicating 1.5 hours each day to myself, so that I get to paint something that I want, and at the end of this circuit breaker I want to see what I achieve. So in theory and logic, I should have 28 miniatures painted finish or more by the end of this circuit breaker. Alright, okay, so I'm still working the same flesh tone for the wings. So one fun fact that I would like to give you is that the wings are actually hands on this dragon. So the reference to this dragon wing anatomy would be a bat. A bat actually has wing flaps in its fingers. However, a bird, why bird wings are differing from bat wings is that bird wings, the entire wing is an appendage. That means the whole arm is the wing, whereas a bat wing, the sort of the wing area is the fingers, extended fingers. So as you guys can see right here, this looks pretty much like fingers to me rather than a bird wing. Okay, so that's a small little fun fact for you. So right now I'm going to start on working on some definition on the wings. So I'm using a magenta base. I'm gradually adding flesh tone to make this look a little bit more organic. Right now, as you guys can see, the first few layers, I'm not going into the details, but in the subsequent layers I'm paying more attention to the form of the miniature. I will be publishing another video where I place another half an hour onto the dragon to make some corrections, because this miniature is really large. Painting it in 3 hours is a bit of a rush, but I want to make sure that I do this miniature some justice, and yeah, I want to make sure it looks relatively good considering the amount of time that was spent on it. Okay, as you guys can see, I'm slapping on large surfaces of colors for the initial highlight, and because it's a time-lapse video, what benefit that you guys get to see is that when it dries, you can see that it's a lot more dull and a lot less bright. So this is the nature of painting with acrylics, and these are the things that you should account for when you're painting. Okay, so right now I'm going to start painting in the blue ambient light at the bottom of the wings. One tip that I would give you for painting large minis very quickly is that you got to constantly piece the miniature together to make sure that the lights are coherent. Coherency is something that I always stress and emphasize upon, because if you don't focus on coherency, you might end up with one component looking excessively bright and one component with colors that don't match the rest. So you just gotta push everything together and paint it as a piece, because this lends a lot to This lends a lot to the coherency of the piece. Either that, or you might want to have a color plan and stick very strictly to the plan. I find having color plans are very useful. However, because we are painting in real life, more often than not these plans don't turn out as they should, and we always have to make some degree of modification. So I always like to put everything together and paint it as a whole. So now I'm starting to put in the object source lighting. This is going to be the main part of the miniature. So I've done this using Chimera green and a bit of black. So I'm just very roughly plotting in the surfaces. So because this is the main area, every single component should reflect a degree of this source lighting. So as you guys can see, I've added in just a little bit of what's that color? German camel beige. And I'm making sure that the object source lighting is as refined as possible. Because this is a large mini and there's a very limited amount of time, the definition would definitely be compromised, but in the later video you will see how I fix this. As I mentioned before, because this is the main area and everything around it should speak and communicate with this light, I have added some of this source light influence on the hands, on the legs, on the stomach, and of course because it's vomiting dead bodies, and on the floor as well, which you will see in just a little bit. And I think I have the necromancer with two brutes. Can't remember the name right now. As you guys can see, I'm constantly piecing the miniature together. And right now I'm working on the carapace and the horns. So I found the carapace and the horns particularly hard to work with, because at this color and the colors that I'm working with, once I highlight the carapace, what's going to happen is the colors are going to look very similar to the flesh, and I'm going to need to differentiate these two surfaces. right now is that my hope is to have the flesh slightly warmer and redder in nature, whereas the carapace and the horns tend to be cooler and more grey in nature, less saturation rather. I really need to invest in a larger background because, as you guys can see, this miniature is so large that I need to zoom out so that you guys can see all the details, but at the same time you guys can look at my table and my mouse. So if you are staying all the way until here, I really appreciate it. You can really help out the channel by subscribing, liking, and hit the bell notification icon. Because of this 90-minute challenges, I am pretty confident that we can push out a lot more content, so you don't want to miss any of these videos that we are posting almost on a daily basis. However, we are committed to posting high quality content on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and sometimes Saturdays. Okay, so right now I'm painting in small little details such as the torn flesh from the skin, the torn skin, and also the little warts. The warts are painted with Chimera green mixed in with a bit of warm yellow, so that it creates this warm green olive color. So at this last stage, I'm actually painting in little details. So these little details help with the part separation, as I mentioned before. It makes the miniature look a lot more refined, even with the very rough brush strokes. So what I'm doing right now is I'm mixing Chimera Violet with Chimera Black, because I feel that this is the most dark color that I can create, and with this I'm actually starting to refine the shadow areas. So I'm painting in between the carapace, and I'm painting in between the flesh to make sure that there's some black lining and material separation between these two areas. I'm painting in between the teeth so that the face looks more refined, and I'm also going to paint in some cast shadows in the muscle structure to make sure that the entire miniature looks discernible and readable from a distance, even in dim light. So we all need to remember what we are painting for. This series of painting exercise is not meant to win competitions, but rather because of the limited amount of time that we all have, I hope to challenge everyone to commit and paint something that they want, given the limited amount of time that everybody has, so that at least you can play painted and you can be proud of what you've done over time. Painting is an endurance sport, in my opinion, where you just need to be consistently painting, and consistency is the key, rather than painting one very good miniature at a time, and you will never ever have a fully painted series because everyone has very limited amount of time. I'm hoping everybody takes on this challenge, and during this challenging period, paint something that they like once a day so that they are happy, and hopefully by the end of all this, everyone has a nicely painted series of miniatures. Right now, in the final few minutes, what I'm doing is I'm just refining the shapes, making sure that the highlights look okay, and I'll be showing you the final product in just a little bit. Okay, I hope you found this video useful for speed painting, as I have shown that speed painting can also be done for larger models. However, of course, you can always revisit the project and add on more details, add on more definition,